In this video, we're going to talk about set-driven keys. Set-driven keys are used primarily for repetitive movement of complex hierarchies or bone structures. What we're going to do first is take a look at set-driven keys as they function. We've got a hand mesh that we're going to create the bone structure for. This is just one of many configurations that you can apply to your hand. This particular configuration gives you a little bit of cupping or rotation in the palm. The outer bone here for the pinky also gives you a little bit of roll into the palm from that area. We've got IK on the arm. Go ahead and test that IK. We also have a rotate plane solver on the custom handle, which gives us some control on the elbow. If you'd like to see this configuration set up, please see the previous video in the series for custom rigging. In this particular video, we're going to take a look at custom attribute on a custom handle, such as this one, where we apply certain hand positions on sliders, on values for your area inside your channel box, so that you can key any position along this particular value scale. You can go ahead and put in a 0 to put that into the default pose. You've got a -10 to give yourself some anticipation in the hand movement there, and then you go all the way to 90 for a full 100% of movement for a fist position. Alright, let's go ahead and delete the one that's there, and we'll go ahead and build that particular set-driven key system. We're going to start with the custom handle, and I'll use the circle curve. We're going to go ahead and rotate that into position and snap that to that first wrist bone there. Once that's into position, we can create, or we need to go ahead and make that rig ready, which is getting rid of the data on that. We're going to delete by type history, go to modify, and freeze the transforms. Now we can use this handle in our rigging system. We're also going to go ahead and attach that to existing bone structure so it follows along nicely. I've got the handle selected. I'm holding the control key down, selecting that joint 3, and then putting my P as in parenting on my keyboard so that the handle is parented to the rig. Now if I grab my IK, it should follow along nicely, which it does. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my grid so you might be able to see that a little bit easier in the recording. Now that I have my custom handle, I'm going to create a custom attribute on that handle. Come right up here to Modify drop-down, Attributes section, Add Attribute. And you'll get a pop-up window where you can name your attribute. I'm going to name this one Fist, and put a -10 value in the minimum and a 90 value in the maximum. Go with the default settings for the remaining and say OK. Now you can see in your channel box you have an additional attribute that you can set values on for this type of animation. It is set driven, so you're in the animation category of tools. Key, bring up your set driven key. You got to fly out. Go ahead and click on set. This will bring up the window so that you can go ahead and set up your set driven key structure. The handle is the driver. That's what has the custom attribute on that. So we're going to load that as the driver. The reason it was loaded in the driven is because I had it selected when I brought up the window. Now we're going to go ahead and load in the fingers as the driven objects. So one at a time, starting from the child, and we don't use the end effector there, the nub on the end. We're going to simply go ahead and select each of these bones individually. If you select the parent bone, the string will highlight, and it'll appear as though you have the entire string of bones selected, but in fact you do not. Alright, I'm also going to get the thumbs in there, and I'm going to go ahead and load those as the driven objects. Now in each of these you need to have the attribute indicated. We're going to indicate the fist. When I select the joints, I'm going to select rotation as the transform that is being driven by this custom attribute. Now that I have the selections made, I'm going to go ahead and set a key for that initial relationship. So set the key. Okay, I've got the handle selected. I can see the fist is at 0. I'm not moving any of the fingers. This is the initial default pose. Alright, now we've got a key set on that. And the next value that we want to create is the 90. Put in the value at the custom handle. And we're going to go back to the joints. Go ahead and select those. I'm going to go ahead and move the joints for the thumb separately from the fingers. I'm going to go ahead and rotate the fingers together to create that fist. And now I'm going to go ahead and select the thumb joints. Rotate those in. Now that I have the fist in position, I'm going to select the handle, check that it is a 90, that's the maximum or extreme pose value, and go ahead and create the relationship by setting the key. Now we can test this by selecting fist. I'm using the middle mouse button and I'm dragging in the viewport. Just dragging back and forth to see the motion between the 0 value and the 90-degree value. Okay. We can go ahead and plug in 0 and do that last value, which is -10. That's your minimum. And with the bones selected, and select those with the thumb and do them separately. I'm going to pull back, arch back just slightly. Same with the thumb, go ahead and splay those out just a little bit. Now that I have the bone position set, I'm selecting the controller, checking the value in the fist, and setting this final relationship. Now, if I select on the fist attribute, middle mouse button click and drag, I can get the maximum, which is 90, and the minimum, which is 10. And if I go ahead and put in the value of 0, I can take that back to the default pose. Now, you can add additional attributes onto the custom attribute handle in the same way that you added the first and create different poses. Each time you'll open the set driven key separately after you create that custom attribute so that you can build a series of hand positions. The advantage to that is saving quite a lot of time when you're doing repetitive motion, such as weaponry in your first-person shooters. You're going to be able to set those positions very quickly and efficiently with set-driven keys. Also, imagine how you can use these in other ways to pick up your velocity, your production time as an animator. Thank you for joining me for Set-Driven Keys lesson. and I'll see you for questions and answers back in the classroom.